Though Green tries to give each of his four protagonists and storytellers equal time, it's obvious he likes Pipe the most. Pipe's grandfather was in the heroin-selling business. His father, Big Bimbo, that's his nickname, tried his hand at a number of illegal things, selling drugs, committing robberies, loan sharking. Nothing worked for long and he was in and out of prisons all the time. When he was out, he was making babies with Pipe's mom, Miss Annette, who became a drug addict. When he was in prison, Miss Annette started shoplifting from stores. Pipe was 8 when his mother went to a Macy's store, stuffed some bags with merchandise, and handed them over to Pipe, whose job was to run to her boyfriend's car and wait for her to come out, and they'd make a dash for it with the loot. Once she was arrested, he and his siblings ended up in foster care. That was when, for a very brief moment, Pipe experienced normalcy, when he was stationed for a while with Mrs. Brown, who gave structure to the boy, and he made it to the honor roll in his school. That gives us, the readers, an idea of what potential this bright boy had. Unfortunately, it didn't last long, and it was first of many foster homes for him. In 1988, 11-year-old Pipe was the oldest of 7 children, all of whom lived in a 7th-floor apartment at Randall Avenue with their mom, Miss Annette. It was up to Pipe as, quote, the man of the house, unquote, to take care of his younger siblings, his mother, and put food on the table. He packed bags at the Medfoods supermarket and also sold crack out of a pizza parlor on Cozy Corner, which is corner of Randall and Rosedale Avenues, apart from playing video games with friends. His cut from selling a $5 vial was $2, and he made $120 a night on average. On page 17, the author writes, quote, he had learned to walk his mom to the check-cashing store when the welfare check came, and to take some of the money before she spent it on drugs. When he couldn't catch her in time, the family went hungry, unquote. The family also had access to $65 in food stamps each month. So he and his siblings, Ro Rufino, Eddie, Juan, Geralda, Annette, and Chantel, had no one looking out for them. Jonathan Green further elaborates in the book, quote, he watched the Cosby Show on the black and white TV with the coat hanger as an aerial from the top bunk in his bedroom. Pipe modeled himself on Dr. Huxtable and thought he might become a doctor one day, living in a brownstone townhouse. He helped his younger siblings with homework and made them dinner when they got home from school, sometimes mayonnaise or syrup sandwiches, or rice with margarine, unquote. Soon he left the studies and the supermarket and went exclusively to selling drugs for higher salary profits. Call it what you want. When he sold 50 nickels of crack packs, he gave $50 to the distributor and kept $100 for himself. Green quotes one instance where Pipe bought a bucket of chicken and a tub of banana ice cream for his family and handed $75 to his mom. Sometimes he left cigarettes and coffee for her at her bedside. In one of the more colorful passages from the book, Pipe's mother arranged an older girl, 19, to take the 12-year-old's virginity, while Miss Annette was in the room next door. Soon thereafter, a crack-headed 20-year-old was easily accessible sexually simply because she was an addict, and whenever she ran out of money, gave Pipe and another dealer sexual favors at the same time, on the roof they called Pebble Beach. On page 78, Green writes, sometimes she removed her teeth for blowjobs. By the time this enterprising boy got involved with Rollock and started shooting at fellow teenagers in turf wars or retaliation or just to scare them off the competition, he had already seen his first dead body. Quote, the man had been blasted with the shotgun in the stomach and the side of the head, unquote. It wasn't Pipe who had shot the guy. In fact, the dead body gave him nightmares. But holding a .22 caliber gun with 9 bullets, quote, each bullet now felt somehow refreshing, the shots driving the stress and the powerlessness of his life away. As a slight 11-year-old, he always felt that the world loomed large and forbidding. He had no control over his mother's addiction or his forced stays in foster homes. But as the gun snapped in his hand, everything receded. The older 15-year-old kids he was shooting at, the Lafayette Towers, they shrank with each gunshot, while Pipe grew to a colossus. Unquote. Even when Big Bimbo came back and tried to discipline him, Pipe was having none of it, pulling a gun at his father to never hit him again. When his mother, Miss Annette, died after giving birth to her 8th child, a daughter, Ashley, it was Rollock who gave Pipe $1,200 for funeral expenses and to buy clothes to bury his mother in. The family had no money for a tombstone, and back home, instead of his father Big Bimbo, it was Rollock who took care of his family, even the 3-month-old Ashley. Pipe went back to selling crack at Cozy Corner, that corner of Randall and Rosedale Avenues in Soundview. And as he built SMM's business, this is a passage from page 129. Quote, "For the entrepreneurial crack dealer, the legions of unemployed in Buffalo and a local distrust of the police created a rich opportunity. Pipe opened another line from Soundview to the north." Unquote. Years later, sitting in a steakhouse off I-95 in Connecticut, a place where Jonathan Green, Pipe, and Sugar would not be recognized, Green asked Pipe why he wanted to tell his story, and Pipe replied flatly, quote, "People need to understand we are not animals. Yes, we sold crack and we killed people, but I only played the hand I was dealt. I had moms, sisters I loved. I want people to know that anyone caught up in gang life is a human being." Unquote. Sugar followed Pipe's lead. Quote, "We want people to know that the streets don't love you. They never did." Unquote. Pipe explained the appeal of his old life. Quote, "You become addicted to the money, to the celebrity status, to all the fame and attention you get from these bitches. Know what I'm saying? So the power you get, even the love that you get from your dudes." Unquote. In early 2000s, while out on parole, Pipe started working as an informant for the Violent Gang Squad, a squad working with the DA's office, a law enforcement and investigative squad. Pipe and Nut had written an ode to Pistol Pete called "Living Life is Like a Suicide," and for a while the song got some play at some clubs. But record labels wanted Pipe without Nut, and Pipe refused out of loyalty, a decision he later on came to regret, by the way. In 2003, Pipe confessed to racketeering, violent crime with a machine gun, and selling drugs, along with the unlawful transport of firearms, as part of a proffer agreement under Organized Crime Drug Enforcement Task Force program, which helped put 20 SMM people away, including Nut, the boy who had pulled the trigger on Tony Morton, the driver looking for directions in a bad neighborhood, mistaken for a counter-hit squad by SMM members. Nut was found guilty under RICO of conspiracy and murder and given life plus 5 years with no possibility of parole. That could have only happened with Pipe's cooperation. In 2005, Pipe himself faced a court expecting a sentence, but was surprised to be set free with time served. An FBI agent took him to a hotel to begin his transition into the outside world. He could never go back to Soundview or meet anyone from his past ever again. He was a cooperator, a rat, but had refused to be in Witness Protection Program. I am unclear as to whether he was in the Witness Protection Program or not, because frankly, he and his girlfriend and their kids were taken to a hotel for their own safety early on, when he first decided to give evidence against Nut. So pages 367 onwards reveal his struggle in the real world, where a person has to work hard for a living, paycheck to paycheck, coming to terms with the notorious past, and reporting to a parole officer regularly. At first, he did maintenance work for $15 an hour for a hospital at Queens. He got married to a woman, had a daughter. He already had a son with his previous girlfriend wife. In 2013, the hospital laid him off. In his 40s now, hard times followed, but again an opening came up, an apprenticeship with the Iron Workers Union that required him to work full days and attend night school 3 times a week. When Pipe did the math in his head, he figured he would be able to afford to buy a house in 5 years' time. By 2016, as quoted on page 369, he had completed his 3 years of night school and apprenticeship to become a journeyman with a rigging supervisor qualification for construction work. He had saved enough to take out a mortgage on a house and send his daughter to a private school. For most days, he manned the crab, a powerful hoist that lifted 3,500 pounds, specially reinforced windows up several stories to be fixed into position. He had given up drinking and weed. Unquote. His ailing father, Big Bimbo, a longtime crack addict, lives with his brother, Rufino. Meanwhile, Sugar is dating his sister and never home.